Welcome everybody back to the Red Bull Ring in Austria for round 6 of the 2020 Euroformula Open Championship, the second race of the weekend, the first of which took place yesterday. And this afternoon we have another 20-lap encounter for you around the 4.3-kilometre Red Bull Ring circuit. Well, the weather conditions have improved significantly since this morning. It's been dry all day, but a little bit cool. Now, though, the temperature is creeping up into the low 20s, and the track temperature is not far behind it either. Qualifying earlier on this morning was a little overcast, it must be said, and it took some of the drivers a little bit longer than usual to get themselves up to full speed because of the lower track temperatures. But in the race conditions now, things should be fairly similar to how they were yesterday. That race yesterday was won by Ye, who is the championship leader. He's extended his championship lead now after his fourth win from 5 races so far this year. And his nearest championship rival, Andreas Essner, could only manage 4th in the race and 3rd place in the championship. Zane Maloney had a nightmare with a puncture after first lap contact. He went off into the gravel and had to have another pit stop after that as well. And he was the last runner at the end. He was still classified in 12th, but did not score any championship points. And so as a result, the top 2 in the championship, Ye and Andreas Essner, now have quite a considerable lead in the championship. Ye is on 126 points with Andreas Essner on 75, and then you have to go back to 45 for Zane Maloney. The real interest is then from 3rd on back, because you've got Maloney 3rd on 45, Lucas Donaire is 4th on 42 points, despite having only taken part in one event, Paul Ricard last time out. You've also got Ido Cohen up there, who's doing quite well now. He's on 52 points, Ayrton Simmons on 34. So there are quite a few drivers in and around the sort of middle of the top 10 in the points who are all within a handful of points of each other. So it's that's where I think the majority of the interest is going to come from throughout the remainder of the 2020 season, which is well and truly underway now, I'm glad to say, after, for obvious reasons, the delayed start to the year. The Red Bull Ring Round is the 3rd event of 7 this year. We head to Monza and Mugello for the next couple of rounds, then the fantastic Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium, before heading to Barcelona and Jarama at the end of the year. So the cars are making their way around onto the grid now ahead of our second 20-lap race of the weekend, and Ye will be on pole position once again. This incredible record that he's got going. We were discussing during the race yesterday the possibility of exactly how many records Ye might break this year. Certainly he's got a chance of winning more races and getting more pole positions than anybody else. Undefeated almost this year. He starts on pole position then with the Van Amersfoort racing car of Sebastian Essner alongside, who's been a little quicker than his brother Andreas this weekend, and is trying to dig himself out of a bit of a hole that he put himself in after a slightly lacklustre Paul Ricard round a few weeks ago. Andreas Essner has kind of gone the other way. He's been very consistent this year, but hasn't had a podium so far since the first race at Paul Ricard, so he'll be looking to try and capitalise on 3rd place on the grid. Whilst alongside him is a man who took his first ever podium in the category yesterday, Manuel Maldonado in the number 33 car. The Venezuelan driver finished 2nd in yesterday's race and is looking to add to his podium tally now in race 2. Nicholas Cruton provided a lot of the early entertainment in yesterday's race because he stalled at the start, fell right to the back, and was eventually able to pick his way back through to 8th position. He'll start from 5th again today, which is exactly where he started in yesterday's race, whilst the Israeli driver Ido Cohen is the lead Carlin contender. Carlin not having a great weekend, it's got to be said. Ido Cohen starts 6th on the grid, 1 place lower than he finished in yesterday's race. Rui Andrade had a couple of moments in qualifying and in the race yesterday, and the number 99 machine starts 7th on the grid. Andrade in the end finished in 9th place yesterday, and then it's Ayrton Simmons, the RR racer, and Ayrton Simmons I thought would be a little more competitive than this. He's still looking for his first top 5 finish of the year, and he'll have to try and get it from 8th place on the grid in this one. Glenn Van Berlo is next, the number 9 car, the Dutch driver for DriveX, one of the 2 DriveX cars on the grid, the other one being Shihab Al-Habsi, who lines up right behind him, or right alongside him, on the 5th row of the grid. The 2 DriveX cars locking out row number 5 of the grid, and they are just ahead of the second of the Carling cars, Zane Maloney, who will start 11th. It's been a bit of a weekend to forget for Zane, the man 4th in the championship. But he may not stay there for long. As I said, he's only a couple of points, or 3 points ahead of Maldonado. He's 5 points ahead of Sebastian Essner, and he's only 11 points ahead of Simmons even. So there is Zane Maloney just rolling into his grid position. One of the last cars, in fact, he is the last car to arrive on the grid. And the Barbadian driver, who raced so successfully in Formula 4 in the UK last year, will line up alongside Alexandra Bardinon at the back of the grid. These were the highlights of yesterday's race then. There was the bad start for Nicholas Cruton from the third row of the grid. He went right to the tail end of the pack, whilst at the head of the field, the challenge was on as Yiffy led the pack through the first corner and tried to get away, which he was successful in doing. The first of the side-by-side battles there was Ido Cohen trying to make ground up. He fell in line behind. Rui Andrade was involved in a nice battle with Shihab Al-Habsi, the Drivex driver, running wide through turn 4 and allowing him through, while Zane Maloney, having already had a puncture, ran wide through the gravel at turn 7 and lost more ground. Nicholas Cruton was on a mission though, driving around the outside of cars at corners at which you're not really supposed to be able to overtake, and he was, as I said, eventually able to salvage a few points. Not as many though as Yiffy, who continued his winning streak with another race victory and the fastest lap as well. Maximum points then for the championship leader. So Yiffy will start on the pole position again for this second race, and if he makes a good start, he is definitely the odds-on favourite, but he wasn't happy with his start yesterday. It was he still got off pole position and led into turn 1 and led every single corner of the race, but Yiffy, as is becoming his trademark now, he's not happy with anything other than perfection, and he did say that his start was not the best he'd ever had, but he will have that pole position once again, which is on the left-hand side of the road. You can see the outside line, because that is the racing line. It's usual for pole position to be on the inside going into turn 1, but the grippier side of the road on the outside line. So race number 2 then of the Euroformula Open Championship here from the Red Bull Ring sees Yiffy line up on pole position and Sebastian Essner alongside. Andreas, his brother, is third, with Manuel Maldonado on the second row with him, looking for a repeat of his podium from yesterday. Nicholas Cruton and Ido Cohen share row 3 ahead of Rui Andrade and Ayrton Simmons, the double R racer from Great Britain, on the 4th row. Rounding out the top 10 then is Glenn Van Berlo with Shihab Al-Habsi alongside him, the two Drivex teammates. Then Zane Maloney and Alexandra Bardinon, the French driver for Van Amersfoort Racing, towards the rear of the field. Van Amersfoort have 3 cars in the race, the two Essner brothers and Bardinon, and Bardinon's definitely been a little off the pace this weekend. He's had a couple of top 10 finishes this year, but didn't quite make the top 10 in yesterday's race in the end. Drivers then sat ready and raring to go on the grid here of the Red Bull Ring. Can anybody stop the championship leader, Yiffy? The Crypto Tower Racing team are also leading the teams championship as well on 64 points. They are 19 points ahead of Van Amersfoort Racing, despite the fact that Van Amersfoort have 1 extra car. But Crypto Tower, most of their points being scored, it must be said, by Yiffy, the championship leader. And in the rookie championship, well, that saw quite a shake-up yesterday, because Zane Maloney, who was tied for the rookie championship lead going into yesterday's race with Nicholas Cruton, well, of course, neither of them had a very good race, with Cruton's stall and the puncture for Zane Maloney, and with Zane not scoring any points and Nicholas Cruton not scoring very many points, it was a little bit of a change at the top of the championship standings, and Zane Maloney now hands the championship lead away to Nicholas Cruton, but that's going to be an ongoing battle throughout the course of the season, I think, between the two drivers. As the revs start to rise, the green flag is waved then, and the formation lap gets underway. And we give the drivers one more opportunity to have a drive around the track, see what the conditions are like. They will have changed since qualifying this morning, no doubt about it. The track temperature quite considerably higher now, and that will maybe mean that they've had to go back to a setup slightly closer to yesterday's race. think was catching a few people out in qualifying earlier on this morning, that they were the coolest temperatures we've had so far this weekend. It's possible that some of the drivers, or some of the teams more to the point, were stuck guessing on what to do with their car setups. There's Zane Maloney, known as a good overtaker is Zane. He's going to have to pull out some pretty impressive overtaking manoeuvres, I think, today to work his way up through the field from 11th, but he really needs to do exactly that, because if he doesn't, he's not going to score points again. And, that's going to obviously derail massively his hopes of a good championship position at the end of the year. Slipped behind his Carlin teammate Ido Cohen, and Ido in his second year of competition, so not part of the Rookies Championship as Zane is, but Zane arrives here as the reigning British Formula 4 champion, dominated that championship in 2019. And yeah, this Red Bull Ring weekend has not quite gone to plan, and in fairness, nor did Paul Ricard last time, because he didn't start the first race when he was due to start 5th on the grid, and race number 2, he at least was able to come back and get a podium, his second of the year, but once you've had one bad race, you can't really afford to have too many more. Ido Cohen then in the number 6 Carlin car, just rolling around the final corner, and as I said, he's up into 3rd in the championship now, but he's about 23 points behind Andreas Essner, so his next target is to start beating Andreas as often as he can, and he's got half a chance of doing that, I suppose, today. Starting 5th on the grid, Andreas directly in front of him, 3rd on the grid on row 2. Teams watching on then, the Crypto Tower Racing team that run Yiffy Ye, and they also run Rui Andrade, and Andrade starting from 7th on the grid this time around, which is a little bit better than he started yesterday. The green flag then is waved at the back of the grid. The revs start to rise, and we get ready to go racing in round number 6 of the Euroformula Open Championship. Yiffy Ye and Sebastian Esther on row 1, and Esther gets a good start, gets his nose in front of the championship leader going into turn number 1, and Yiffy Ye is on the outside line. He's been passed for the race lead. He might even fall down to 3rd place. Not quite. Oh, he fights back around the outside. Fantastic stuff. And Sebastian Esther got a bit sideways coming off the corner, and they are still side by side as they go down the hill and back up again into turn number 3. It's Esther on the left. On the right is Yiffy Ye, the championship leader. Esther gets the lead away. Yiffy tries to go up the inside line, and he does. Sends it to the apex, goes back through, but runs too wide, and that looks as though it's Manuel Maldonado that comes through into 2nd and is now challenging Yiffy Ye for the race lead. Well, this is a really dramatic start, and it could completely change the complexion of the race if Maldonado can get himself ahead into the race lead. They're almost banging wheels down into turn number 4. Maldonado on the inside will go through. Can he stop the car? Oh no, runs a bit wide, and Yiffy Ye is back up the inside. Terrific racing between the two of them, and Yiffy Ye somehow has got himself back into the lead of the race. It's Sebastian Estner, I think he's racing with, actually. Maldonado in 3rd position. Well, that was breathless stuff there through the first sequence of corners. You can't accuse Yiffy Ye of not having good racecraft. No, it is Maldonado 2nd. I thought it was. Cruton is 3rd. He made a much better start this time than he did yesterday. And then Sebastian Estner down to 4th. Ido Cohen is right behind him in 5th position. But under pressure there from Glenn Van Berlo as they go through the penultimate corner. Van Berlo had a look on the inside, ran out wide coming off the corner though, and that unfortunately puts paid to that. So Yiffy Ye leads the opening lap from pole position, but that doesn't really do that first lap justice. That was fantastic stuff between he, Maldonado, Cruton, Sebastian Esther was up there as well. Cohen gets sideways there going out of turn number 1. Field being rounded out by Andreas Essner. Now Andreas Essner has not come through at the end of the opening lap, according to my timing screen. So that could be huge drama for the man that's 2nd place in the championship. Except there are 12 cars, I think, on track, so possibly it's a transponder issue. Zane Maloney, I can see, is coming into the pit lane. So Zane Maloney, sadly, for the 2nd race in a row, has problems on the opening lap. I'm seeing this out of the window. I can't see any obvious damage on the car, but we'll try and pick up some pictures of it if we can. And it would appear that maybe Andreas Essner has gone missing somewhere as well. Side-by-side action here. That's the 99 of Rui Andrade going up the inside of Alexandra Bardenon, I think that was. So Bardenon must have got past him in the first sector. They're running side-by-side down the hill. And the double R car of Ayrton Simmons is the one right behind them. There is Andreas Essner, so he has stopped. Now, has he gone off or pulled off? Hard to tell from that angle. Couldn't see any obvious damage on the car, so it could be a mechanical problem. Well, that completely shifts the championship around now with Ido Cohen running so well in 4th place at the moment. He could really be set to gain out of this. Like I said, he was 23 points behind Andreas Essner, and you can score 25 points for a race victory, although he is obviously not on course for a race victory right now. Ifier, though, is now starting to get away. 1.2 seconds the margin. Maldonado second, Cruton third, Cohen fourth, Sebastian Essner fifth, Glenn Van Berlo is sixth, then it's Bardinon, Andrade, Simmons, Shahab Al-Habsi and Zane Maloney in the pit lane, as we've said, with Andreas Essner out on the opening lap. The first lap is under investigation. There are lots of things that could be for, as there at the inside goes the number 12 of Glenn Van Berlo. And he is trying to defend from Bardinon, the French driver, coming back at him here. Pulls out of the slipstream, does Bardinon, to the outside line on the run into turn number 4. You can go right around the outside here, but it is risky. Just ask Alex Albon about how risky it is to try and go around the outside of that corner. And sensibly, Bardinon elects not to take that particular risk and slots in behind. There is Zane Maloney's car. Now, they're looking at the back of it as if maybe, I think they're trying to take the engine cover off, so I think that must be a mechanical problem rather than contact as such, or it could be a mechanical problem caused by contact, I suppose. Ifier then getting away, Maldonado second, Cruton in 3rd place. Elliot Wood has joined me again up in the commentary box now, and well, I need a chance to catch my breath after that first lap. That was much more like it. I said all along that if someone could get ahead of Ifier at the start, they could have a chance of beating him, and Manuel Maldonado gave it his best shot to do so.
He absolutely did. But unfortunately for his rivals, Ifier has already got a 1.7 second lead after these first 3 laps. So once he is ahead, he knows what he's doing in that position. Like you said, the title implications are pretty massive. Ido Cohen's going to be the greatest beneficiary, but Maldonado certainly put himself into contention there.
Yes, because Maldonado is only 10 points behind Cohen now after his podium in yesterday's race. And Maldonado has come from 4th on the grid to 2nd place already. A move up the inside there, and contact is made, and around goes Alexandre Bardinon. Rui Andrade had a go up the inside, and unfortunately the two have tangled up at turn number 3, and now the two cars appear to be stuck together. They're dropping like flies in this race at the moment, aren't they? And this might well require a safety car. No, they've become dislodged, and they can carry on, hopefully with minimal damage done, but that's another 2 cars out of contention now. That was the battle for 6th place, because Glenn Van Berlo had gained 3 spots from where he'd started and was on course for potentially his best result of the year, but sadly that contact with Bardinon has taken them both to the back of the field. Now that will still be inside the points, because there are only 10 cars still running, with Maloney and Andreas Essner out of the race. Ido Cohen taking some liberties there with the track limits coming out of turn number 9. The lead gap is 2 seconds as Ifier sets another fastest lap now, 1:24.130. There is the damage to the front of the 99 of Rui Andrade. So dislodged that front wing, and here, well, first of all, is a replay of the start. It was Ayrton Simmons this time that didn't get a great start from the middle of the field. He lost quite a bit of ground. At the front, though, Ifier didn't get away well, and so it was definitely Essner that got up the inside of him here. Sebastian Essner this is. And then somewhere through all of this, Manuel Maldonado ends up getting almost past the pair of them. Essner gets a bit sideways coming off turn 1, which definitely delayed him. This is on board with Ido Cohen. Oh, you can see the chop being made there from the 3rd place there of Andreas Essner. We'll try and figure out exactly what happened to Essner. Contact there coming off the corner. Right, so Essner gets walloped by Maldonado, is it not? That's the 33 car that hits him. And then this is the contact that we've just seen between Bardinon and Rui Andrade. So no wonder the first lap was under investigation, because there was quite a lot going on. This, of course, was on lap 3 that this latest bit of contact happened. Incident involving cars 99 and 25 is under investigation, unsurprisingly. So, the next question I have then, Elliot, if it was Maldonado that hit Essner going out of the first corner, has Maldonado got any damage? It looks like he's got away with that, actually. Yeah,
it does look like he's going pretty quickly. He's actually matching Ifier's times. He's at 1:24.503 on that last lap. Ifier 1:24.59, so actually a little quicker. Nicolas Cruton behind is going pretty much the same pace as well. We saw Rui Andrade in the pits there. He's had a nose cone change, has actually just stalled it out of the box. But he has got going again, while Zane Maloney, his car is still sitting half in the garage, half in the pit lane. So not a good day for Zane Maloney. But it does mean that if Rui Andrade can keep it on track here, he's guaranteed a points finish.
Yeah, so it's well worth getting back out there with a new front wing, and it's a reasonably quick fix, just sticking a new nose on the car. Battle for second then heads down through the right-hander at turn 4. Manuel Maldonado, the number 33 car, has his Team Motor Park teammate Nicholas Cruton behind him. Now Cruton could do with a good points haul today because he obviously lost a lot of points yesterday when he finished down in 8th position. Nicholas has had just the one top 5 finish so far, and that was a 5th position, so he's already on for his best result of the season if he stays in 3rd place. But he will be looking to try and do better than that. Obviously, he is being warned about track limits, though, already through these 2 corners here. That car, the number 4 car, has been running too wide onto the green painted runoff area. Nice and neat and tidy this time around. He's staying just close enough to get a bit of a slipstream from his teammate Maldonado. And as they go through this time, they are, 8/10 slower this time than Yiffy. There's Ido Cohen in 4th. Sebastian Estner upholding the Estner honours in 6th position at the moment.
And Alexander Bardignon's been penalised for the incident between him and Rui Andrade. He's got a 5-second penalty added to his race length, so he's going to be struggling there. He is still in 9th place, and he has he has a lap in advantage to Rui Andrade, so this won't lose him a position, but it will lose him a bit of dignity in this race.
Yes, exactly, and it lets the stewards know that what he did is not acceptable, and he'll get in trouble if he does it again. He turned in across the front of Rui Andrade's car, I guess is what the ruling has been there. Nicholas Cruton, though, looks a little bit quicker here than Manuel Maldonado. Maldonado is ahead of Cruton in the championship, but that's a lot to do with the fact that he had that podium, second place finish in yesterday's race. But he did that from the front row of the grid. This time around, he's really had to do some overtaking on the opening lap or so. And as is often the case with this category of racing, once things settle down, it can be hard to make the same sort of progress. So if you're good at the start, that will definitely pay dividends. The stewards have investigated the first lap and there is no further action as Ido Cohen goes way wide at the final corner and hands 4th place to Sebastian Estner on a plate. I don't quite know what happened there into turn number 10, but the Carlin driver just did not make the corner, and we'll have to see if we can pick up a replay of that. Maybe he lost the rear on the way in, but the number 15 of Sebastian Estner only too grateful to take over 4th position. It's a tricky corner, that final turn. It's easy to get wrong, but Cohen got it really wrong then.
Yeah, and it means Sebastian Estner is now only 2 places down from where he started. He did make a great start. He was in the lead for about 200 metres, and now he's back up to 4th. Does he have the pace to match? And we're going to see a replay of Ido Cohen. I don't think he even got to the corner before he'd gone off. But it's very good to turn it around before, he went way into the runoff.
Yeah, that barrier was looming pretty large. He did a good job of saving that, you're right, but I'm intrigued as to how he got there in the first place, because you're absolutely right in saying that the car just never made the apex. So, well, maybe just pushing a bit too hard, maybe there's a problem there. We'll keep an eye on him over the next few laps, but that has cost him that 4th position. Yiffy continuing to set fastest lap times now. 1:23.946 is his latest effort. And 23.9, about 1.6 seconds off the qualifying times, but the race time from yesterday, the fastest lap in the race, was a 23.5, so we are getting down towards that sort of pace now. Nice little battle here coming out of the final turn then, and that's Cohen behind Glenn Van Berlo now as well. So Glenn Van Berlo's taken 5th place away. I'm suspecting, therefore, there might be some sort of a problem here for the number 6 car, because you can see the time that he's lost to Sebastian Estner. Has he been off again, or maybe he just picked up a load of dirt on the tyres when he went off the first time? He's got Ayrton Simmons behind him now. This is, as the graphic tells you, all for 5th position. And Glenn Van Berlo is the 3rd placed rookie at the moment. He finished 3rd in the rookie category yesterday, 7th place overall. He's on for an even better result this time around, at least in the overall category.
And if Cohen does have a problem, we hope it's not going to be related to the one his teammates suffered, because Zane Maloney is actually still in the pits. The team are working on the car, and we are 9 laps into this race now, so it's not much they can gain from doing that besides learning what the problem is. But hopefully it doesn't happen to Cohen's car as well. Yeah,
well, this place can be a bit of a car killer. If you're running over those curbs, it can really, they're quite severe, the curbs, especially through this final sector where they've all been running wide and getting pinged for track limits. So that can absolutely damage the car if you keep doing it, and Zane Maloney and Ido Cohen have both been guilty of that. Cohen is dropping away from Van Berlo and further into the clutches of the 7th place car, Ed Simmons, double R, who comes out of the final turn, makes his way back across the start-finish line. Glenn Van Berlo started this race 9th and he's into the top 5. Okay, he's been helped by others having a problem. At least 3 cars in front of him have had issues, Andreas Essner, Bartonen and Andrade, but good drive still this from Glenn Van Berlo. Cohen doing his best to keep Ayrton Simmons behind him. So they turn their way now through the 3rd turn, up at the top of the hill. There, the fight for second, still exactly as it was then. Maldonado and Cruton 7/10 of a second apart. This was what we saw yesterday, wasn't it? Drivers could get to about 6 or 7 tenths behind somebody else, and then they just can't get any closer because of the turbulent air, because of the loss of downforce they suffer because of that. And that is what therefore makes overtaking a real challenge. It's all the more satisfying then when you do get some overtaking, because you know the drivers have really had to work for it. No DRS, no KERS system, no extra overtaking aid. It's all about the drivers. You've got to get yourself in a position to attack, and only then can you think about getting past the car in front. There is number 15, Sebastian Essner, 4th place. Is he lapping? He's lapping fractionally quicker than the 2 in front. A couple of tenths per lap-ish, about a 10th quicker that time than Nicholas Cruton in front of him. But Sebastian Essner, I think, is going to be a bit frustrated with the way this weekend's gone, isn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't had it as well as he could, considering his pace, but I think he'll be hoping now that Nicholas Cruton does get closer to Maldonado, so they end up losing time against each other, so he can close in. Obviously, Essner would be fighting Cruton for the rookie class win as well, so he would want to make up that extra position. Having said that, Cruton's just set his, he's set the fastest first sector of anyone, and we're watching, I believe that is Yifei, all alone on track at the moment, 5.2 seconds to the good, and set fastest lap last time round. His winning margin yesterday was 8.8 seconds. And the rate he's going, you would imagine he might be able to beat that this time. This is all off the curb there, and just a little bit more turning into turn 6. 3, 7 and 8, which is almost flat out in these cars. They've got a terrific amount of downforce and grip. And, yeah, using it all to the best of his ability. Fastest last time, again, 1:23.875, new fastest lap of the race. Not as quick as he was going yesterday, though, so despite the fact he's pulling away just as quickly, he's not actually going quite as rapidly. There you can see the gap back to 2nd and 3rd. Maldonado 2nd, Cruton 3rd, leading the rookie category, as Elliot was saying. And in the Rookies Championship, he is 2 points to the good now, but it's no longer Zane Maloney behind him. It's Glenn Van Berlo who's 2 points back, and Maloney 1 point behind him. So the top 3 in the rookie category covered by 3 points, and Sebastian Essner is only a further 5 points back. So actually 8 points cover the top 4 rookies. And that's what makes this battle between Cruton, Essner and Van Berlo all the more important, although they're all quite a long way away from each other on the track at the moment. It's Cruton with the fastest first sector of anyone now, 21.760. As he closes in now on Maldonado. He's a bit closer this time, I'd say. Not close enough to attack, but definitely less than 7 tenths behind. But it's a lot easier to follow another car through the first half of the lap than it is through the second, because the second half of the lap is where we get these fast sweeping corners where you really rely on the aerodynamics to do their job. And it looks as though Cruton is just dropping back again. Well, it sort of matched him actually in the middle sector, 38.2 for Cruton, 38.1 for Maldonado. So he's staying there, but he has to be a bit closer than this, I think, to think about attacking. Yeah, and if you're running behind another car in that middle sector, you're rarely going to be faster than them because of how much dirty there is in the fast sweep. So he did just go across the turn 10 curbs, and he has been warned for that already in this race. So we'll see the gap as they cross the line, 0.698. That's pretty much remained constant, actually. But Cruton, we're going to have to see if he's going to get track limits warning. Yes, because you get a warning and then you start getting time added on to your race, and as tight as this battle is, and they're not that far ahead of Sebastian Essner either, that could prove to be quite important. Sebastian Essner on the previous lap, there wasn't quite as quick as them, so he's dropping back again now. Yeah, and they've just set identical first sectors as well. Maldonado's personal best, but Cruton's already matched at 21.872. a full 1/10 of a second faster with the fastest of the races, Yiffy. So everyone's actually getting faster at the front here, and they're not actually losing too much time to Yiffy.
No, they're not. Yiffy's 6.5 seconds ahead now, but he definitely still has some pace in his pocket, I think. He's still not quite down to the pace he had yesterday, but of course as the race goes on, the fuel load decreases, so the car gets lighter. In theory, you can set quicker lap times later in the race, although it was the 10th lap of the race yesterday that Yiffy set the fastest lap on, and it's the 12th lap of the... no, it was the 10th lap again today, so that seems to be the sweet spot where you're about halfway through your fuel load, but the tyres haven't yet started to really drop off enough to slow you down. Cruton then still dicing away with his motor park teammate. Always a little awkward when it's two teammates fighting for podium places, but that is the nature of especially a junior single-seater category like this. It's got a bunch of very quick, young, talented drivers who all have aspirations to make it to the very top of the racing ladder, and they're not going to back down, whether it's their teammate filling their mirrors or somebody else. Gap hovering again around 7/10 of a second. First sector this time, Cruton fractionally quicker, about half a tenth faster than Maldonado. There's the race leader, Yiffy, and this incredible run that he's on continues. 2 race victories from 2 pole positions at the Hungaroring. Had 1 race victory at Paul Ricard, finished second in race 1 behind Lucas Denaire. Started behind him as well in second place, but then here at the Red Bull Ring, back to winning ways. It's a shame in a way that Lucas is not doing a full season, because if he was, we will be in for a really interesting battle between the two of them, I think. But, Yiffy definitely seems to have a bit of performance over the rest of them out there. Sebastian Essner, I think, is getting closer to them. Yes, he was over a tenth quicker than Maldonado in the first sector, so his gap is creeping down from third place Cruton to fourth place Sebastian Essner. It's under 2.4 seconds now, but there is Sebastian. You can see there, he's definitely getting closer. Let's see what that gap is now. It was 2.39, it's to 2.13, so 2/10 gained that time. But he's going to have the same problem. If he can get within a second of the cars in front, then he will start to struggle to close any more, just because of that dirty air. Field then hits the brakes into turn number 3, closing right in on the apex there. Nicholas Cruton throwing everything at this. Cruton sitting 9th place in the standings right now. German driver, motor park driver, and then this trio still together just behind them as well, which is Van Berlo 5th, Cohen 6th, and then Simmons in 7th place. Simmons, again, same kind of problem that Sebastian Essner is going to have. He's caught these two, and now he can't do anything with them. Ido Cohen there, the number 6 car, though, is being shown a warning flag again for exceeding track limits at turns 9 and 10. He's done that a couple of times in this race. And Ido Cohen in the Carlin machine, having already run very wide through turn 10 earlier on. The car seems okay, though. There's no obvious problem or damage here. I'm going to see a replay here of the 25 car of Alexandra Bardinon going right up over the curbs. That's the kind of thing that can so easily damage the car, and Bardinon has to be careful not to not only can you get in trouble for track limits, but you can also break suspension, break front wings, damage the gearbox from doing that kind of thing as well. So back across the start-finish line then. The lead gap is less than it was now. Yiffy was quicker on that lap, but the lap before, Maldonado was quite a bit faster, because it's gone back down to 5.4 seconds, so the gap came down by about a second. I don't know whether Yiffy had a mistake on the previous lap, which is rare, but that will give Maldonado some hope that maybe he can start closing in. But with only 5 laps to go, Yiffy can probably afford to back this off. I don't think Ido Cohen's quite done here with Glenn Van Berlo, is he, though? He will want to get through if at all possible, but he's also got to be mindful that Ayrton Simmons is not that far behind him. If he does try and get past Van Berlo and it doesn't work, it could end up costing him a place.
It possibly could, but I think the problem is we've seen with Ayrton Simmons this season is he's really good at getting very close to a driver, and then the difference in pace between his car and the car in front just isn't enough for him to make a move. So he's kind of stuck in 7th place here, but probably if he was ahead of Cohen, he'd find it'd be easier able to match Van Berlo and possibly even close in on the cars ahead of them.
Yes, and of course, frustratingly, yesterday he was in a very similar position, running behind Ido Cohen and not able to get through. Cohen finished 5th and Simmons was 6th yesterday, and we had the same kind of thing where Simmons caught him but then wasn't able to do anything with him. He got back out by another couple of tenths that time, so UVA is once again managing the gap between himself and Manuel Maldonado. Cruton in third is only half a second back that time. Having just set his personal best lap. That's quite impressive actually. Nicholas Cruton 124.43. Tenths quicker than Maldonado, despite the fact the tyres are way past their best now, and despite the fact he's running in the dirty air.
But Sebastian Essner's gone even faster, 1 minute 24.2. Took out 2 tenths, 1.7 seconds to end them now, but less than half a second between second and third place. Ethan Simmons getting very close to Ido Cohen there. We're hoping to see an overtake between these drivers because that is under half a second, but we haven't so far.
No, but that's half the battle is getting within half a second of the car in front. Once you're there, if you can strike quickly, you might have a chance. Cars 25 and 99, Baldanon and Andrade, who came together earlier on, are now being warned about track limits, and someone just ran wide there. That must have been Cohen who ran wide coming out of turn 4, and this is Ayrton Simmons' opportunity. Goes to the outside into turn number 6, but there's no way through. But Cohen will have dirt on the left-hand side tyres. Simmons needs to try and take advantage of this now. He might not get another opportunity to overtake the Carlin car in this race, and he spent far too much of his weekend in Austria staring at the gearbox of the number 6 machine. He would very much like to put it in his rear-view mirrors if he can, but Simmons just wasn't able to do it. But that was a definite mistake from Cohen. Simmons will be thinking here that he's seen Cohen make a couple of mistakes now. Obviously Cohen had that big moment at turn 10. He's just run wide again at turn 4, so that might give Simmons, psychologically at least, the upper hand, because he knows that the car in front is making a few mistakes. Ahead of this group, by the way, Sebastian Essner is closer than ever to Nicholas Cruton now. He's almost within the 1 second bracket. 1.1 seconds the gap. He took another over half a second, 6 tenths of a second out of Cruton on the previous lap. So Cruton is definitely struggling now, and so is Maldonado. And Sebastian Essner, perhaps because he's been running in clean air all race, has been able to conserve the tyres. The tyres have a good durability, but they're naturally going to be quicker when they're fresher. So even though they don't wear out completely, they certainly lose a little bit of performance. So if you're able to manage that in the heat on this very abrasive circuit, that can sometimes pay dividends at the end of the race. Essner now under a second behind, you can see on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. So Sebastian Essner is now almost as close to Nicholas Cruton as Cruton is to Maldonado. So there they are, look, second, third and fourth out of the final corner. Maldonado, Cruton and Essner as they go on to the penultimate lap of the race. So I fear that Sebastian Essner might just have left this too late, but he's done a good job to close down the gap nonetheless. A gap that was up nearer 3 seconds at first. And Sebastian Essner, who started this race fourth, he's running in fourth place now. He would love to get onto the podium again. Sebastian was on the podium yesterday. It was his second and third place finish of the year, after notching one up at the Hungaroring as well. Now he's arriving with some momentum here. That can sometimes be all it takes to actually make the pass stick. If you are in the position that Cruton is in and you've been following the same car lap after lap after lap after lap, you tend to get stuck running at their speed, whereas someone who has caught those cars from a further distance back, such as Sebastian Essner has, can sometimes help them, but it's all about timing. You've got to catch them at the right point, and he's catching them really just as they go through the middle sector, which might not be ideal. There you can see the gap is now under 6 tenths, so for the first time in this race, Essner is closer to Cruton than Cruton was to Maldonado. Yifie, remember him, leading the race by nearly 6 seconds, very calmly going about his business. Wasn't happy with his start yesterday. He definitely won't be happy with his start today, but he proved that he was able to fight back from that. Cruton on his final warning now for track limits at turn 10, but this is the final lap of the race, so it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Can he do anything about Maldonado, or is he going to have to turn his attention to defence? We're on the final lap now of the race, and Yifie is 6 seconds ahead of this 3-car scrap for second place. Maldonado, Cruton and Essner. Sebastian Essner, the only remaining Essner brother in this race. He's 4 tenths back now, so they're closer now than ever. It's spurring Cruton on. He's closer to Maldonado now than he's been at any point earlier on in the race, and he's in the slipstream actually as they go down the hill towards turn number 4. Can he do it? This is probably his last opportunity, and he's just not quite close enough, is he? Needs to try and force a mistake now out of Maldonado in front of him. No mistakes from this man though. Yifei, the Crypto Tower Racing Team number 20 car, heads through turn 6, slings the car into turn 7 and 8, and works its way back up the hill. Can't say it's been a faultless performance this time, because the first lap didn't quite go to plan, but it has still been a really commanding drive once he got the lead back halfway around the opening lap. He has never looked back, and Yifei is going to take his 5th race victory of 2020 and a double at the Red Bull Ring for the 2nd time this year. He wins both races in the same event. Maldonado hangs on to 2nd, Cruton 3rd, Sebastian Essner is in 4th position, and Glenn Van Berlo should come through in 5th position. Yes, he does. Holds off Ido Cohen and Ayrton Simmons. And then Shahab Al-Habsi, Alexandra Bardinan and Rui Andrade will round out the finishers. Andrade a couple of laps down after pitting for that new front wing, but as Elliot was saying earlier on, that does mean that he will get at least a point for the for finishing in 10th position. So Ye gets his 5th victory. It means that throughout the course of the whole year, he's only dropped about 7 points from the maximum. Those 7 points being the race where he finished 2nd at Paul Ricard and Lucas Donaire took the fastest lap, which is worth a bonus point. He scored 25 points for a win, 20 for 2nd. So 6 points actually is all he's dropped really. Yifei though doesn't drop any points today. He wins the race, he sets the fastest lap. Manuel Maldonado gets another 2nd place finish, and Nicholas Cruton gets on the podium for the 1st time this weekend and the 1st time this season actually. So like Maldonado yesterday, he gets his 1st podium at the Red Bull Ring. Sebastian Essner and Glenn Van Berlo are next, then Ido Cohen and Ayrton Simmons. Shahab Al-Habsi, Alexandra Bardinan and Rui Andrade round out the top 10, and indeed the only finishers because Zane Maloney and Andreas Essner failed to get to the flag. So that is how the championship looks. 78 points the cushion now for Yifei. Andreas Essner 2nd. Manuel Maldonado moves back ahead, or moves ahead in fact, of Lucas Donaire, Zane Maloney and Ido Cohen this time. Gains 3 places with that 2nd place. He's actually joint 3rd with Ido Cohen technically. Sebastian Essner drops down to 5th. Maloney drops to 6th. Those two have had a disastrous day. Nicholas Cruton, Lucas Donaire, Ayrton Simmons and Glenn Van Berlo, I think that was rounding out the top 10. Drivers of cars 16 and 33 and team managers for cars 16 and 33 being asked to report to the stewards with laptops. What could that mean? 16 and 33, well 16 is Andreas Essner, 33 Manuel Maldonado. That must be the contact that they had at the start of the race. There was the winning moment for Yifei. So that's interesting. Remember, coming out of the first corner, Maldonado ran into the back of Andreas Essner. I don't think it was intentional, though. I think it would be harsh to penalise Maldonado, but we'll see what happens there. Yifei, this all too familiar routine now. He climbs out of the car, one finger in the air, and the Chinese driver wins race 2 here at the Red Bull Ring. And immediately starts a conversation there with this engineer, but Yifei. And of course, yeah, good result there with Maldonado and Cruton for the Motor Park squad, getting 2 of their cars onto, or both of their cars, I should say, onto the podium. Certainly makes up for Nicholas Cruton's bad result yesterday. There is Nicholas, 2nd place, sorry, 3rd place finish today. And Manuel Maldonado also getting congratulated by the Team Motor Park squad. And he, like buses, he waits so long for his first race victory to come, and then 2 come along all at once. We'll have a chance to chat with our race winner, Yifei, hopefully in a moment or two. And yeah, he comes back out now to have a chat with us, and we'll hear his thoughts, not just on the race victory, but on the start in particular. That's really where most of the excitement was in that race, and certainly for Yifei it was. He absolutely dominated after that point, but it was not an easy ride until halfway around the first lap or so. There's Nicholas Cruton, who comes home in third position then, Nicholas Cruton, with his first podium of the year and his first ever podium in the Euroformula Open Championship. Manuel Maldonado is second, doubles up on podiums here this weekend. But it is Yifei who has done the ultimate double. 2 race wins, 2 pole positions, 2 fastest laps, and he is now in an almost unassailable championship lead.
We are with Yifei, the winner of race 2 here at Red Bull Ring, and a familiar face already for all the fans, as we see you often in the victory lane. How was this one today, Yifei?
The start was a bit hectic, I would say. Turn 1, loads of action going to turn 3. Was going 2 abreast into turn 4. It was quite a hairy moment with my teammate Manuel, but luckily we got out from P1 and then hold the lead until the end, so very happy about that.
It's never according to the plan, but it works always well.
Yeah, win is a win, so very happy about that. And next one in Monza will be quite interesting with all the tow and slipstreaming in the race going on. So winning will not be easy anymore. So let's see what we can do there.
Well done, thank you.
Yifei then back on the top step of the podium. Let's take a look at the highlights of the second race of the weekend for the Euroformula Open Championship, which started with a bang as Andreas Essner, from the inside of row number 1, tried to get the lead away going into turn number 1 from Yifei, but wasn't able to do it. There was contact for his brother Andreas, who was hit by Manuel Maldonado coming out of turn number 1. It looked as though Sebastian Essner had the lead, but he left the door open. Yifei went up the inside into turn 3. They both ran wide, and that helped Manuel Maldonado to scoot through into second and almost the lead. He got his nose in front of Yifei, got his whole car ahead into turn 4, but ran wide, and the Chinese driver fought back on the inside to take the lead and didn't look back. There was damage to the back of Andreas Essner's car after that contact with Maldonado that will be investigated after the race. And then, speaking of contact, Alexandre Bardenon was turned into a spin by Rui Andrade, but it was Bardenon who was awarded a time penalty. Ido Cohen made a mistake coming out of the final corner and ran wide, losing a couple of positions, falling down from 4th to 6th, and that could have some championship ramifications for him. It was Yifei, though, who took the race victory once again, crossed the start-finish line, 5.8 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Manuel Maldonado second, Nicholas Cruton third, and Sebastian Essner in 4th position. So huge congratulations then to the Crypto Tower Racing team, and Yifei is about to head onto the podium. Nicholas Cruton is already there. He's eager to get on the podium because it's his first ever visit to the Euroformula Open podium. Manuel Maldonado made his first visit up there yesterday, but it's Yifei who takes yet another race victory in the Euroformula Open Championship.
And in honor of the winning driver for Yifei, now the national anthem of China.
Yifei then wins yet again in the Euroformula Open Championship here at the Red Bull Ring. The championship now makes its way to Monza in a few weeks' time. The high-speed, slipstream-friendly Italian circuit should produce some really good racing action, and we hope to see a couple more drivers on the grid, hopefully, for that round as well. Yifei will be looking to try and further extend the points advantage that he's built up now over the chasing pack, and with some of his nearest rivals having problems in that race, it has further cemented his position at the top of the championship table. Champagne being readied now, and the drivers can celebrate their podiums here at the Red Bull Ring in the second race of the weekend. And they probably need an opportunity to cool down as well after pretty warm conditions out there on track today. Well, thank you for joining us for the Euroformula Open Championship races here at the Red Bull Ring. It's another double race victory for Yifei. We'll see you again next time at Monza.